Good morning and good evening, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 11th Fealac Cybersecretariat Workshop. My name is Hana Chang, Program Advisor of the Fealac Cybersecretariat, and it is a great honor to MC for today's meeting. Thank you very much for joining us today despite the time differences. The 11th Fealac Cybersecretariat Workshop was organized in celebration of its 10th anniversary with the theme of 10 years of Fealac Cybersecretariat, revisiting and moving forward. We hope that this workshop will provide an opportunity for Fealac member countries to revisit the past achievements of the Cybersecretariat and discuss future direction for cooperation in preparation for the post-pandemic era. Now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Hwang Kyung-tae, Director General of the Latin American and Caribbean Affairs Bureau, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Korea, to deliver his welcoming remarks.
Representative of Fealac members, experts from East Asia and Latin America, distinguished guests, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to everyone attending the 11th Fealac Cybersecurity Workshop today. The theme of today's workshop is 10 years of Fealac Cybersecretariat, revisiting and moving forward. The Fealac Cybersecretariat was established in 2011 to facilitate the operation of the forum. The Korean government has been managing the Cybersecretariat to strengthen Fealac's institutional foundation and promote further cooperation among the members. There is a Korean saying go, 10 years is a long enough time to change everything, even rivers and mountains. Over the last decade, the Cybersecretariat has continuously evolved. In the beginning, the Cybersecretariat focused on managing the Fealac website. 10 years later, the Cybersecretariat now performs various functions almost equivalent to a permanent secretariat. The annual workshop has been positioned as an intersessional process between official Fealac meetings. Moreover, the Cybersecretariat is enhancing the relevance and the visibility of the forum through publication, participation in Fealac projects and meetings, and partnership with other stakeholders. It would not have been possible without the support of the member countries. I'd like to thank all of you for your hard work and support. Ladies and gentlemen, in commemoration of the 10 years of the Cybersecretariat, the first session of today's workshop will provide an opportunity to review the past 10 years and explore the future. Along with this workshop, the Cybersecretariat has been carrying out its 10th anniversary project throughout this year, including publication, exhibitions, and online events. In addition to celebrating 10 years of the Cybersecretariat, it is still necessary to look for ways to solve some of the challenges that lay ahead of us. In this sense, we will share ideas for revitalizing Fealac cooperation in the second session. We can talk about how to develop the Fealac mechanism for this purpose. We can also discuss how to vitalize national and the Fealac-wide project. Today, along with the speakers from Fealac member governments, we have also invited both former Fealac Vision Group chairs, Dr. Kim Won-ho and Dr. Carlos Aquino, and also Professor Lee Tae-hyuk, an expert who made dedications as a former staff members of the Cybersecretariat. Together, we would like to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Cybersecretariat and make these workshops a venue for fruitful discussions for the development of Fealac. Once again, I'd like to thank the Cyber Secretariat for organizing the event and wish all participants health and safety. Thank you.
Thank you for the encouraging remarks, Director General Hwang. Now I'd like to invite the participants for a group photo. Please kindly look at your video screen for a moment while we take a screenshot. Thank you very much. Again, please note that the Q&A and discussion session is scheduled at the end of the workshop. Throughout the workshop, participants may ask questions related to the presentation materials through the chat option on the Zoom screen. When submitting your question, please make sure to specify the presenter you are addressing the question to. Also, if anyone wishes to speak during the Q&A and discussion session, please click the raise hand button on your Zoom screen and wait until the moderator invites you to take the floor. Thank you. Now, without further ado, I would like to invite the moderator of this workshop, Dr. Kim Won-ho, to take the floor. Dr. Kim is the Dean and Professor at the Graduate School of International and Area Studies at Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. Dr. Kim has also served as the first chair of the Fealac Vision Group. Professor Kim, the floor is yours.
Good morning, East Asia, and buenas tardes, Latino America. It is my honor again to moderate this year's Fealac workshop. We do not meet again in person this year. Yeah, that's the bad news. But the good news may be we have already developed and we are accustomed to the new format of communication and workshop, which is webinar. Webinar may be more relevant to the nature of the cyber secretariat of Fealac. This year is especially, we are celebrating the 10th anniversary of the Fealac Secretariat, Cyber Secretariat. And today we have actually 3 sessions. In the first session, we are hearing the presentations by the Korean side. One is self-evaluation of the Fealac activities for the past 10 years. And the second one will be the future plans of the Fealac Secretariat. Please let me invite, first of all, Mr. Choi In-tak, Director of the Latin American Caribbean Cooperation Division of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Korea. Mr. Choi.
Thank you. Good morning and good evening, participants from Latin American region. My name is Choi In-tak, and I'm the Director of Latin American and Caribbean Cooperation Division of Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Korea. I'm happy to be here and to present 10 years history and achievements of Fealac Cyber Secretariat. Fealac Cyber Secretariat was established by the decision of the first Fealac Foreign Ministers meeting in 2010. In Tokyo Declaration, Fealac Foreign Ministers decided to create the Cyber Secretariat by further developing the current Fealac official website and eventually establishing a secretariat for the better management and promotion of the forum. In this meeting, document regarding the creation of the Fealac Cyber Secretariat was adopted. After that, the Cyber Secretariat was officially inaugurated in March 2011 in Seoul, Korea. Since its establishment, Cyber Secretariat has increased its function. In 2011, they started its function by operating Fealac official website, coordinating focal points, and compiling database. Now, in addition to this basic function, they increased their function toward facilitating communication, reinforcing archive and database, research and publication, and also they are doing agenda setting, administrative advisory support, and they are trying to strengthen Fealac mechanism. Also, they are increasing public awareness of Fealac. Okay, now let me explain the function of a Cyber Secretariat one by one. First one is facilitating communication. It is one of the basic functions of a Secretariat. Cyber Secretariat notifies and arranges all the official meetings of Fealac and circulates all related documents and agendas to all member countries. They create the closed space for focal points to discuss the schedule and agenda and finalize the meeting document. They also keep the correspondence with all focal points of member countries and update the list of Fealac focal points. They regularly publish Fealac newsletter and they also publish press release. To facilitate communication, Cyber Secretariat has renewed and improved Fealac official website 3 times in 2009 and 11 and 2018. Reinforcing archive and database is also the basic function of Cyber Secretariat. They compile Fealac database to maintain continuity of forum, including official document and project database. They introduce major topics of Fealac working group and announce and promote news and events of Fealac and maintain Fealac calendar and photo gallery. Third one is research and publication. Cyber Secretariat, as a core support mechanism for Fealac process, has submitted various research related to Fealac agenda. You can see the list of the various achievements of Cyber Secretariat. They regularly publish various materials to increase public awareness of Fealac and to provide information of Fealac member countries, such as Fealac Guide, Fealac Leaflet, and Fealac Fact Sheet. From now, let me explain about the additional function of Cyber Secretariat. First one is agenda setting. Cyber Secretariat holds annual Fealac Cyber Secretariat workshop like today's workshop since 2011. The workshop serves as one of the discussion channels to follow up with Fealac agenda and provide practical discussion to the focal points of Fealac. On the occasion of this workshop, Cyber Secretariat prepares and participates in the interim coordination meeting. Cyber Secretariat has committed to strengthening Fealac mechanism through various proposals regarding Fealac process and format, including guideline for logo use, Fealac project review survey, guideline for Fealac meetings, etc. They also try to strengthen presence of Cyber Secretariat within Fealac mechanism. Cyber Secretariat participate in the national projects of member countries to help to improve presence and promote visibility of Fealac. They also participate Fealac official meetings and reports and its activities and future plans at some meeting since 2011. To strengthen presence of Cyber Secretariat, they are also facilitating the overall process of Fealac fund operation. Since the establishment of the fund in 2017, the Cyber Secretariat provides coordination in following up with the fund operation and its activities and steering committee meetings. They participate the steering committee meeting and may provide assistance to the steering committee for facilitating communication and distribution of reports. The other thing is vision group process. Cyber Secretariat supported and facilitated the process of vision group. As a follow-up on the vision group recommendations, the Cyber Secretariat was mandated to develop an intranet for discussion among the vision group members within the Fealac website. The outcomes of a vision group are archived on the official Fealac website. In 2014, the Cyber Secretariat held a workshop and discussed ways to implement the recommendations of the vision group final report. Finally, they are also trying to increase public awareness of Fealac. Cyber Secretariat has hosted various public outreach activities, including Cyber Secretariat Youth Forum, Youth Summit, book concert, and they are continuing various social media events and promotion. So far, I explained the various functions of Cyber Secretariat. Many of them are the essential role of the Cyber Secretariat, and they actively participated in the process of a Fealac mechanism to strengthen and broaden the activity of Fealac. Let me now wrap up the 10 years history and the achievement of the Fealac Cyber Secretariat. For the past 10 years, Cyber Secretariat has made a significant progress under the Fealac mechanism despite the absence of the permanent secretariat. Cyber Secretariat has gained full support and trust from the members, given its continuous improvement in its function and responsibility. Nevertheless, there are still limitations for Cyber Secretariat to advance to the next level under its current status. They have a limitation on the exercise of external affairs as an official representative of Fealac. Also, they lack in authority to establish its own authoritative interpretation, or they don't have any authoritative administrative rules. So, with this, the successful history of the 10 years Cyber Secretariat, we invited member countries to share any comments for the future development of a Cyber Secretariat. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Choi, for your presentation on the past decade of Fealac Cybersecurity. Now we are inviting Mr. Han Seung-hyun, Program Coordinator of Fealac Cybersecretariat, to speak about future plans and strategies of Fealac Cybersecretariat. Mr. Han.
Ladies and gentlemen, ambassadors, head of delegations, Your Excellencies, dear sir and mom. On behalf of Fealac Cybersecretariat, I'd like to thank you again for participating in this year's online workshop. It is my absolute honor and pleasure to deliver a presentation on the future plans and strategies of Fealac Cybersecretariat. Today's contents can be summarized into 4 P strategies. The 4 Ps are publication, promotion, participation, and partnership. First of all, Cybersecretariat will reinforce the publicational aspect of its functions and will also increase the relevance and visibility of Fealac. To elaborate, Cybersecretariat plans to expand the series of publications from the existing ones that have been regularly published over the years. Some of the notable publications are Fealac Guidebook, leaflets, and fact sheets, which are published biannually, and Fealac Newsletter that are distributed in the quarterly basis. In addition to the existing ones, Cybersecretariat is continuously searching for opportunities to create a new line of publication. In this connection, Cybersecretariat will publish Fealac Project Book for the first time this year. Fealac Project Book will highlight the representative and continuous Fealac project with the hope that it can be used as a reference point for works to be done in the future and ultimately guide us to be better prepared for the post-pandemic era. Not only will we look for ways to expand the publication, but we will also ensure that these publications can be used and widely available so that it can be effectively utilized by the government, academics, and other relevant bodies. To do so, we provide Fealac publication to be electronically available through Fealac website to enhance the ease of use. Furthermore, Cybersecretariat plans to reflect ideas and suggestions from Fealac members with the intent that these publications can better address specific needs from our members. Hence, suggestions and recommendations from our members regarding the publication by Cybersecretariat are always welcomed and much appreciated. Secondly, Cybersecretariat will strengthen the promotional aspect of Fealac by utilizing online and offline platform. To be specific, we'll promote Fealac events and other relevant information by utilizing social media platforms such as YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and etc. Especially given the influences and impact of social media, it is important to develop online contents and events to increase the visibility of Fealac. In this context, Cybersecretariat will create YouTube video and Instagram posts regularly to expose Fealac in the online presence. We will also continue to expand our promotional efforts through offline platform. In this vein, we organized 2020 Fealac Book Concert in Korea, where we collected notable books and collections from our member countries to display and promote awareness to the Korean public. Additionally, in collaboration with Fealac supporters, which are a national project operated by the Republic of Korea, we plan to produce various online contents as well as to organize offline events to carry out this year's promotional efforts. Thirdly, Cybersecretariat will increase its efforts to actively participate and assist with Fealac projects and meetings. To illustrate, Cybersecretariat is regularly monitoring Fealac-wide projects that are funded by the Fealac Trust Fund to ensure that these projects are being carried out in an efficient manner and to facilitate a communication between the UN and the Fund Steering Committee. We are also periodically informing Fealac members regarding ongoing and upcoming Fealac projects. Ladies and gentlemen, due to the pandemic it became inevitable that many of the recent Fealac projects have been carried out using the online method. Because of this, Cyber Secretary was able to participate and better observe and promote Fealac projects carried out by our members. For instance, for the first time, Cyber Secretary participated in 2021 Fealac Young Leaders Program by Japan through the online platform. Likewise, in order to cope with the increasing roles and contribution of Cyber Secretariat and to actively participate in Fealac process, we'll actively communicate with regional coordinators, co-chairs, and other members to foster and more engage in Fealac process, especially during the COVID-19 era. Cyber Secretariat will also try to be more involved in stimulating Fealac meetings and projects. In this context, we ask our members to collaborate with or invite Cyber Secretariat to Fealac projects such that we can better assist Fealac members and their projects. Lastly, Cyber Secretariat will promote partnership with the international organization and other agencies. Through partnership with the international organization, we hope that it will provide new opportunities to promote Fealac in the global stage. In this sense, Cyber Secretariat has been actively searching for ways to collaborate with other organizations. For instance, last year, we worked with the Union of International Organization, UIA, to have Fealac be part of their yearbook, which is produced annually. Since then, Cyber Secretariat has been closely working with the UIA to update information on Fealac to be reflected on their yearly yearbook. In addition, we're hoping to strengthen our partnership with the regional coordinators and working group co-chairs to help Fealac to improve the current mechanism. By doing so, we hope to assist with the institutionalization and structuralization of Fealac. Lastly, Cyber Secretariat is also looking for ways and opportunities to collaborate with private sectors and other agencies to expand the range of our partnership. Hence, it could provide Fealac with more openings for networking and possible collaboration with the private sectors for the future Fealac projects. Distinguished Fealac members, in summation, Cyber Secretariat is and hopes to continue to be an essential part of Fealac mechanism for the next 10 years. As a Secretariat, we'll strengthen our function as a facilitator and a communicator and serve as an important body for increasing visibility and relevance of Fealac. Furthermore, Cyber Secretariat will contribute towards advancing the institutionalization and revitalization of Fealac through research and by outreaching and partnering with international organizations, private sectors, and other related bodies to enhance the relevance and reputation of Fealac. As we are facing the new era and in order to cope with the new normal, Cyber Secretariat is ready to assume the new responsibility. We will actively assist the regional coordinators and working group co-chairs to facilitate Fealac meetings and projects in light of COVID-19, and we will better utilize the online platform and its accessibility to strengthen the promotional function of the Secretariat. In a similar way, Cyber Secretariat will constantly look for opportunities to participate in Fealac activities to assist with the overall advancement of Fealac. On this note, I'd like to thank again for participating and hearing the future plans and strategies of Cyber Secretariat for the next decade. And we would truly appreciate your support and cooperation in making Cyber Secretariat a vital organ in Fealac mechanism. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Han, for your presentation on the future programs and plans for the next years to come. I myself believe that everybody will appreciate the Fealac Secretariat's efforts and service to, first of all, maintain the momentum of cooperation, inter-regional cooperation, and revitalize the cooperation. Okay, that will be very important. But at the same time, feedbacks and inputs and collaboration from all parts of participating countries will be welcome. Okay, that will be second part of the importance in interregional cooperation. All right, and then we'll move on to the second session. In the first part of the second session, we will have 3 presentations. As you know, currently, Dominican Republic and Lao People's Democratic Republic are serving as regional coordinators for Fealac process. First of all, we will invite Mr. Hugo Rivera, Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of Dominican Republic, and then we will invite Mr. Dalylack Keobanhdith, Deputy Director General of Economic Affairs of Ministry of Foreign Affairs from Laos, and then we will listen to a presentation of Professor Lee Tae-hyuk, Busan University of Foreign Affairs, Busan University of Foreign Studies. Okay, first of all, we will listen to the presentation by Mr. Hugo Rivera, Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dominican Republic, in a pre-recorded video format. Okay, please go on.
Distinguidos altos funcionarios de los países miembros del FOCALAE, distinguidos miembros de las delegaciones que componen los países miembros del FOCALAE, distinguida Secretaría del FOCALAE, en nombre de nuestro señor presidente Luis Abinader y de nuestro canciller de la República, Roberto Álvarez, quisiéramos llevarle un saludo afectuoso de parte de la República Dominicana. En estos momentos, la República Dominicana, al igual que otros países que componen nuestro foro, pues pasa por momentos muy difíciles. Ningún país estaba preparado ni presupuestariamente ni su sistema de salud para hacerle frente a la pandemia. Esto ha causado un reto, tanto interno como externo, en el uso de los recursos. Y desgraciadamente, muchas de las soluciones no se encuentran en nuestros países. Es un momento de revitalizar el FOCALAE, de relanzar el FOCALAE, de ser creativos con nuestros instrumentos para que juntos podamos salir valiosos y ayudarnos y cooperar entre nosotros. Si bien es cierto que en nuestros países no existe la solución, pues sí entre todos existe la solución de los males que hoy en día nos están afectando a nuestra economía y a nuestro sistema de salud. Estamos seguros que el foro puede jugar un papel trascendental en el futuro de cada uno de nuestros países y que es el momento de cooperar, es el momento de abrirnos y es el momento de unirnos aún más para poder echar nuestros pueblos adelante. La República Dominicana apuesta al FOCALAE y la República Dominicana apuesta a que en un futuro cercano podamos nosotros establecer estos instrumentos que nos vinculen más y que nos ayuden a que juntos podamos ser mucho más fuertes frente a los males que se nos avecinan. Entendemos que luego de pasar la crisis de la pandemia, vendrá una crisis económica, donde hará falta que nosotros nos ayudemos aún más. Entendemos que el foro puede jugar un papel sumamente importante en las soluciones que todos los países que componemos este sistema necesitan. Nosotros estamos dispuestos a trabajar con todos los países y con Laos, que es nuestro co-coordinador para Asia del Este, para crear esos instrumentos, para ser novedosos y para ayudar a que ninguno de los países que forma parte del FOCALAE quede atrás. Desde la repartición de las vacunas, que no ha sido de forma equitativa, desde los próximos sistemas económicos, donde se vislumbra que tal vez los países de renta media o países de mediano crecimiento no tengan acceso a los fondos, nos ve un reto por delante. Igualmente, los países que componen este sistema, muchos de ellos tienen programas exitosos, experiencias adquiridas, sistemas financieros que permitirían compartir entre nosotros las responsabilidades de crear un marco que permita un crecimiento dentro de esta pandemia. Nos debemos a nuestros pueblos y nuestros pueblos nos reclaman responsabilidades como países y esas responsabilidades incluyen fortalecer un foro, que es el único foro que une a Asia del Este con los países de América Latina. Y esas relaciones y esos puentes cada vez deben ser más grandes, cada vez deben ser más fuertes y cada vez deben conectarnos más para crear un futuro mucho mejor para todos. Muchísimas gracias, señoras y señores.
Muchas gracias, viceministro. Now we will invite Ms. Dalylack Keobanhdith, Deputy Director General of Economic Affairs or Foreign Affairs of Laos. Ms. Keobanhdith.
Good morning, East Asia. Good evening, Latin America. Excellency, distinguished participants. First of all, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to the government of the Republic of Korea and the Fealac Cyber Secretariat for excellent organizing the workshop today in the form of a webinar. In the capacity of representative from Fealac senior official for the Lao PDR, it is my great honor and pleasure to participate in this event, marking the 10th anniversary of the Fealac Cyber Secretariat. Taking this opportunity, I would also like to congratulate and commend the Cyber Secretariat for its efforts and hard work on development of various activities, which have significantly contributed to enhance the Fealac process for the past decade. On behalf of the Lao PDR as Regional Coordinator for East Asia, today I'm pleased to share my point of views on the topic of enhancing the Fealac operation mechanism, which I will brief the current mechanism, raise its advantages, as well as the challenges and difficulties, and then come up with some of proposed suggestions and way forward based on lessons learned and perspective from Regional Coordinator. Excellency, distinguished delegates, despite the complex regional and international environment and numerous challenges, Fealac process has continued evolving and playing an important role in promoting mutual understanding, providing exclusive dialogues, and deepening cooperation between East Asia and Latin America regions in political, economic, and social-cultural fields. Since its inception in 1999, the Fealac operation mechanisms has been well organized and systematically coordinated, with a regular and extensive channel of communication and dialogue has been convened between the two regions. Currently, 4 major levels of meeting have been organized, which includes Foreign Ministers Meeting, FMM, its highest decision-making body, Senior Official Meeting, SOM, Practical Decision-Making Body, Working Groups Meeting, and Coordination Meeting. In addition, the Troika Foreign Minister Meeting is also organized to ensure the continuity of Fealac agenda and effective implementation of national and regional projects. Apart from that, the Cyber Secretariat was established in order to increase cooperation and facilitate communication among member countries, as well as raising visibility of Fealac and ensuring successful Fealac meetings, activities, and projects. And the Fealac Fund was also established so as to support inter-regional projects. The Lao PDR has carried out its role and responsibilities as a regional coordinator for East Asia for the term 2017 to 2019 and the interim coordinator since 2019. In this regard, I would like to share some lessons learned and perspectives on the Fealac mechanisms at a glance as follows. On one hand, in terms of advantage strengths, I may raise 4 main points. Firstly, Fealac process has the clear guideline mechanism of institutional framework, which includes inter-area, the framework for a forum for dialogue and cooperation between East Asia and Latin America, adopted at the first FMM in 2001. The new Fealac action plan adopted at the 8th FMM in 2017. And other key documents related to enhancing Fealac working mechanism. These are crucial instruments for member countries to follow the directions, objectives, principles, modalities, and decision-making process, and strengthen a wide range of dialogue and cooperation between the two regions. Secondly, the appointment of coordinators from both regions is one of the most significant tools to facilitate communication and coordination among member countries within the region and between the two regions, and closely work together on new initiatives and proposals, as well as prepare for the various key meetings in general. In addition, the coordination meetings are also playing an important role in following the decision taken at the FMM and SOM. Thirdly, the significant role and mandates of the Cyber Secretariat has contributed to strengthening cooperation among member countries on all Fealac activities and projects, and increasing greater visibility of Fealac through online and offline platforms. Lastly, the establishment of Fealac Fund is also integral and useful funding mechanism for Fealac process to support projects which are inter-regional in scope and promote mutual understanding between the two regions. On the other hand, regarding the challenges and difficulties, firstly, as we are aware that Fealac is forward-looking and future-oriented based on voluntary, informal, and flexible in its working procedure. In this aspect, there are rooms for less interested in Fealac process for member countries, which reflects the lower ranking of participants and loose participation of member countries in the FMM and SOM, the less contribution to Fealac fund activities and projects, and no volunteer to be a regional coordinator as required at appropriate time. Secondly, the selection of regional coordinator is on voluntary basis, and thus the current coordinators are facing the difficulty to find timely the incoming coordinator prior to the FMM. Thirdly, despite the fact that Fealac process was initiated over the past 2 decades, there are few inter-regional projects being implemented, which needed to be expanded in emerging contexts in order to actively engage member countries from both regions in the Fealac-wide projects in scope and promote better understanding between the two regions. Lastly, due to the pandemic outbreak, the Fealac meetings, activities, and projects have been postponed and unable to be regularly and physically organized. Therefore, there is a need for Fealac to adapt itself and respond to new normal. Based on the challenges and difficulties, I am of the view that the Fealac working mechanism could be further enhanced and expanded to respond to the emerging context and the post-COVID-19 era. The following are some proposed suggestions. Firstly, member countries should increase greater leadership and ownership in Fealac process through actively participating in all levels of meetings by appropriate representatives, volunteer to assuming the incoming regional coordinators, contribution to Fealac fund if possible, or providing in-kind to support Fealac activities and propose new national and regional projects to address common challenges of the two regions. Secondly, member countries should consider determining the alternative modality and methodology for the selection of the next regional coordinators. I support the regional coordinators rotation system proposed at the 9th FMM, which encourage introducing a voluntary alphabetical rotation system with due regard to those who have served as regional coordinators or hosted FMM and SOM until all member countries is located to be regional coordinator. Thirdly, I also continue to support the new Fealac action plan, especially the first pillar on strengthening the institutional framework of Fealac, which encourage to explore the possibility of organizing a special Fealac summit with due consideration of the best and tangible outcomes as well as potential implications of the summit in order to provide critical momentum for Fealac through greatly raising its visibility and engaging a more whole of government approach with commitments. Fourthly, apart from FMM and SOM mechanism, member countries should consider proposing initiative to organize a dialogue on specific cooperation area that the two regions have mutual interests and benefits and face common challenges at some level and ministerial level in the fields of health, tourism, trade, investment, micro small and medium enterprise, and ICT. Furthermore, organizing business forum between the two regions will be also a key driver to raise greater public profile and visibility of Fealac and promote trade and investment between and among member countries. Last but not least, in the emerging context, the format of organizing meetings, activities, and projects is mostly virtual manner. Therefore, enhancing digital transformation and connectivity and effective utilization of electronic system is vital for Fealac process to further involve the activities and projects deepen and widen in the post-COVID-19 era. On behalf of the Lao PDR as Regional Coordinator for East Asia, I would like to take this opportunity to extend my gratitude to Dominican Republic as current coordinator for Latin America, the previous regional coordinators for the two regions, other Fealac member countries, and the Cyber Secretariat for close cooperation and support Lao PDR in fulfilling its role and responsibility in the past 4 years. In this regard, the Lao PDR is still looking forward to welcome a volunteer country to assume the next coordinator for East Asia region. In addition, the Lao PDR is planning to virtually organize senior officials meetings sometime at the 8th of this year in order to further discuss the selection of the next regional coordinator and prepare for the upcoming FMM that is considered to be possibly postponed to the next year. May I conclude by wishing all participants good health and workshop today great success. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dalylack Keobanhdith, especially for your insightful suggestions. Among other suggestions of yours, special Fealac Summit attracts my attention. I personally would like to make comments on that. As you know very well, for the time being, FMM, Foreign Ministers Meeting, is the highest authority of the Fealac process. But everybody will know we need kind of a leaders meeting. We know constraints and limits to organize such meeting. But for example, in 2 years, we will have to celebrate 25th anniversary of Fealac process, which can be kind of silver wedding, right? 25th anniversary. So why don't we try to organize the leaders meeting? That definitely will serve as a new stimulus and kind of milestone to revitalize the interregional process of Fealac. Okay, that is my own suggestion, and I think many people, or I hope many people will agree to my idea. Okay, anyway, as the last speaker in this session, let me invite Professor Lee Tae-hyuk from Busan University of Foreign Studies to make a presentation on interregionalism in the climate crisis. Mr. Lee?
Okay, thank you. Basically, I copy from the greeting from the moderator, Professor Kim Won-ho. I would say good morning to East Asia, and buenas tardes ahí en América Latina. Once again, greeting to distinguished public officials, scholars, and then ladies and gentlemen. Sincere congratulations on 10th anniversary of the Fealac Cyber Secretariat and the 11th Fealac Cyber Secretariat workshop. It is a very significant moment for Fealac institution per se. It is also very meaningful personally, as briefly Director General Hwang Kyung-tae mentions that at this event, due to the fact that I was involved in the Fealac Cyber Secretariat back to the exactly 1 decade ago, which was when the Fealac Cyber Secretariat launched in Korea. I was studying member for Fealac Cyber Secretariat as a researcher. I also participate in the 5th FMM, which is the foreign ministers meetings in Buenos Aires in Argentina. From back then, I have realized that the Fealac is moving forward by playing a critical role in international society. Thus, I do once again congratulate to every single personnel who has been engaged in increasing the meaning and the significance of the Fealac in the global entity. Today, as you see the first page of the slide, the topic that I have brought for you is the inter-regionalism in the climate crisis era, a comparative study on the APEC and Fealac in terms of level and scope. This is my title, and also it is my understanding in the global sphere, and then it is my argument. As you see in the words of the climate crisis, AT and the E is capital letter, and the red color and the italics. Right? Basically, we ate too much as a greedy in the capitalism-driven economic institution, and is means still we are. This is my perspective, and also this is topic of departure to see how and in what ways APEC and the Fealac do respectively to understand and to figure out. Okay, so this is slide like content, and also it has a orientation of today's presentation. I will show the context by demonstrating some pictures, and then the purpose of this sharing of this presentation is basically to review and also focus on the one single aspect and to suggest a way to be better positioned in the international fora, and will lead to enhancing the awareness of Fealac and becoming a true collaborator for the global society, just beyond the boundary of a nation state. And then how this, which means the methodological approach, will be considered. So basically this is a slide that shows that now and in a possible near future, right? Which indicate that we have to do something very clearly due to the fact that there is a global wide signal that is approaching. That is, we can say the tipping point, right? Scientifically speaking, COVID-19 is highly correlated to the climate change. Then APEC, how to understand and approach the zeitgeist, which is the spirit of the times. In fact, APEC has an emergency preparedness working group, so-called EPWG, which was first established as the APEC Task Force for Emergency Preparedness by APEC senior officers in 2005. In 2009, APEC leaders reaffirmed the importance of enhancing human security and reducing the threat of disruptions to business and trade in the Asia-Pacific region. In 2010, the TFEP was elaborated to the Emergency Preparedness Working Group. Thus, the EPWG seeks to build capacity in the region so that APEC member economies can better mitigate, prepare for, respond to, and recover from emergencies and natural disasters. This is achieved by building business and community resiliences, fostering private-public partnership to protect communities and business from the disruptions, and by sharing information, knowledge, and technology, right, to improve regional capacity on disaster risk reduction. In this spirit, there are a handful of projects starting from the 2007. Right. So as you see, so they are starting there some project, and then up to the current. So this actually graph shows that the by year, right? And then this graph shows that by the nation state. So which means they continuously working for the climate crisis by the way of the EPWG. And then this slide shows the how EPWG proposal has been collected, right, amassed. So there are certain the point that you can see. And then also this is another sample that I brought from the APEC website. That is proposal economy was the Vietnam. All right. And this slide is before actually looking at the case of Fealac, I'm just gonna show that which countries are so-called common denominator in terms of 3 inter-regional institutions. Because we do have 3 inter-regional institutions, right? Globally speaking, APEC, ASEM, and Fealac. Then my question is that how far, right? FMM statement have been transferred into practical realm in terms of climate change, I guess. So once again, this slide shows that how, in what ways, Fealac realized the importance of climate change related issue by demonstrating the words statement have been spelled out at the FMM declarations. Thus, as you see that from the second FMM, which was in the Manila, Philippines, there is a statement, 15C, and then the third FMM also, the fourth FMM also emphasized the importance of it, and then fifth as well, right? And then the next slide, so that the six. So the six FMM also they emphasize on the even seventh FMM has a subtitle in the declaration like the Fealac and climate change. And then eighth in Busan, Korea also they emphasize the notion of the climate change. The latest, the FMM held in the Santo Domingo in Dominican Republic. As you see that by understanding the importance of climate change related issues, they actually changed the existing working group name. So from the Social Political Cooperation and Sustainable Development Working Group to the Social Political Cooperation and Sustainable Development and Climate Change Working Group. Then so this actually slide that shows that how Fealac worked for the international project, right? So we actually did a lot of the working groups under the project under the umbrella of working groups, right? So has been changed, right? So national project under the 2 separate periods working groups due to the fact that working group has been modified, right? So I just gonna change it. I'm just gonna showing the 2 different graphs. So this shows that also the by the countries, right? We have done a lot. And then this shows that by region, right? Up to the very current period. But then how has been work for the Fealac climate change issue, right? As far as I'm concerned, as far as 4 has just gonna came out the 3. Yeah. So not much, right? Then prior to moving for the end of today's presentations, I like to demonstrate this slide that contains the concept of the civilization, which denotes that everything is about the capital R, which is relationship. The current concept of the civilization is so-called capitalism-led economic system and take nature for granted. And thus it happens globalization as we face. And thus it has to move on the another paradigm which is ecological driven economic system under the umbrella of ecological civilization. I guess this is a room that Fealac can lead in some aspect. So, a way moving forward, Fealac way, right? So, first, understanding all about R that I just demonstrate in the previous slide. And then something we have to take seriously into account the practice that APEC made with respect to the climate change related projects. And the third, no dress up. That means open up for all stakeholders so the Fealac can be sincere fora. And then the fourth, we need a flagship project, right? The Pan Fealac Way flagship project. So I recommend it has to be something done with the climate change one, right? But I didn't mention here that the next one is, I guess, the in the way we can building a brand, BB, right? Through the solidarity via Fealac family capital. Then it could be enhancing the awareness of Fealac and then being a true collaborator for global society just beyond the boundary of a nation state. So I do believe that Fealac will be a great facilitator moving beyond inter-regional aspect towards global realm. Thank you so much. Gracias por su atención.
Thank you very much, Professor Lee Tae-yeok, for your analysis and insightful presentation on the Fealac process and comparison with APEC process. Okay, we are moving on to the last session, and the last session will be composed of 4 presentations, and each presentation will last about 10 to 15 minutes. One from Professor Carlos Aquino of Peru, and then Ambassador Prayono Atiyanto of Indonesia, and Mr. Jose Guillermo Sarita Paulino from Dominican Republic, and Ms. Boonyarit Vichienpuntu from Thailand. And after the 4 presentation, we will invite 2 discussants, one from Argentina, the other one from Singapore, and then we'll pick up any possible questions from the audience and your questions or comments, right? Okay, first of all, let me invite Professor Carlos Aquino, Director of the Center for Asian Studies of San Marcos National University. Professor Carlos Aquino actually served as the Fealac Vision Group Chair after my term. Okay. It is my great pleasure to invite Professor Aquino. Profesor Aquino, adelante.
Good morning. Sorry, I was. Okay, now it's okay. Okay, you're seeing my PowerPoint presentation. Yes, I was saying good morning to all the person in the other side in the Pacific, and a good evening to the person in this side of the Pacific. Well, this is my presentation. I will talk about some points regarding the work of the Fealac. Well, first, we have to emphasize that, in fact, the Fealac is the only organization bringing together the 2 sides of the Pacific. And this is very important because this is a place where we can meet, we can exchange opinion. So it is a very good platform to do that. But as we have listened to the other speakers, perhaps we need to put more content on that. We need to use more this mechanism. Okay. Anyway, the relation between both our regions has been increasing in the last year, really. But probably the increase is being done by many countries, but probably the biggest countries are reaping the benefits. For example, for Latin American countries, they have more relation with China, Japan, Korea, no? the bigger countries in the east side of the Pacific, because of the bigger economies, because we have more exchange in trade volume, because we have more exchange in investment. And for the side of the Asian countries, perhaps the relationship is bigger than bigger with Mexico, with Argentina, with Brazil, that are the biggest economies in our side. Okay, and probably this exchange, this relationship is more done in the economic aspect, as I said, in trade and investment aspect. So we need to encourage a relationship in another aspect of the relationship. There have been some advance, for example, in the cultural side. Probably you are well aware, especially talking from the Latin American side, that we know more about the society, culture, for example, of China, Japan, Korea, but we don't know so much about the other countries in Southeast Asia, for example. So there is a need to learn that. And also we have to say that, in fact, this increasing relationship between both sides of the Pacific, it is reminiscent of something that happened already. As you know, during 2 centuries and a half, from the second half of the 16th century to the first decade of the 19th century, there was this Manila Galleon trade, no? That allowed the exchange of goods between Latin America and Asia, specifically East Asia. Really. These big Spanish ships were departing from the Acapulco port in Mexico and crossing all the Pacific, going to the Manila. And from Manila, other ships go to China, and they collected many things. And so there was a big exchange, but that exchange was mainly the silver that was brought from Latin America to Asia, specifically to China, some native products, and from Asia, from China, they were coming manufacturing goods, no? Porcelain, you know that. And it made me remember that in present times, we are having an increasing economic relationship, but it looks like the trade pattern is similar, because still most of the things that Latin American countries export to Asia are primary goods, raw material, like it was during the Manila Galleon trade. And the goods coming from Asia to Latin America are mostly manufacturing goods. So this is something that also we have to work, okay? Anyway, moving to the next one. Yeah, so how can we increase, so how can we increase anyway the relationship, and how can we increase the knowledge and understanding about both regions? For example, now we live a special situation. Several people have already talked about that. We live in the pandemic of the COVID-19. The visit, the physical exchange have been restricted, but we are finding, as we have also been told, new ways to overcome this one, okay? And for example, I am the director of the Center for Asian Studies in San Marcos National University, and I want to point something, for example, in Latin America, we have in many countries Center for Asian Studies, okay? And in Asia, we have Center for Latin American Studies. So I think the academia, in this case, can do a good job. We have to encourage these activities, really. So we have to support them. So who are the persons who know more about Asia, for example, in Latin America? The specialists, the professors, the researchers in this Center for Asian Studies. And who are the persons who know more about Latin America in Asia? Are just the Center for Latin American Studies being there. So we have to encourage more this thing. In the case of my center, in fact, from the beginning of March, April last year, when all physical activities, all physical contact was not possible. We have been using a lot of webinars to have professors from Asian countries. In fact, we have taken a big advantage of that. We have having our webinars professors from Asian countries that we have been impossible for us to bring them to our country because, for example, one paying the expense of the travel was not possible. So in a sense, we have taken advantage of that. So I think you have to do more about this, encourage more about the use of this instrument of webinars and things. I have to say, for example, that Professor Wong Ho Kim also participated in one of these webinars, okay? Also, for example, how can we make possible that not the biggest country, for example, like Brazil, Mexico, Argentina, who have more resources, funding to promote the activities in Asia, and perhaps the countries like China, Japan, Korea, that big countries, the big embassy, and have more funding to promote the activities this year. How can we make that smaller countries, like in both sides of the Pacific, can do more to promote the countries in the other side? For example, you know the Pacific Alliance. Okay? The Pacific Alliance is a group of 4 countries, Colombia, Mexico, Peru, and Chile. They work together. They work together in Asia trying to promote their countries. If Peru, if Colombia, if Chile do it by themselves, perhaps it will not be easy because they don't have the money, they don't have the staff, they don't have the people, but the Pacific Alliance is doing a good job. And in Asia, I know very well because I work with them, the Asian Committee. Okay, you know, you have the Asian Committee, this Association of Southeast Asian Nations. In Peru, for example, we have embassies from only 3 countries of this association, Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia, and they do joint activities to promote the country. So we have to find a way for smaller countries in Asia, for example, the Southeast Asia country, and for smaller countries in the Pacific to work together, to be together and to promote the excellence. Okay? Other thing, for example, to encourage more knowledge, probably the government should encourage to put some incentive to allow internship to have internship students from both sides of the Pacific. Of course, this cannot be done fiscally now, but the opportunity open, we have to do that possible. Okay? And of course, universities should be encouraged to offer double degree, attracting students from both sides of the Pacific. Probably the younger people are the best positioned to better know more of the other side of the Pacific. Okay. And then I put an example, for example, in this student economic ability. As I said, the Pacific Alliance have these 4 countries, and they offer, each of these countries offer every year 100 scholarship to students of the American country. For example, Colombia offer 100 scholarship to students from Chile, Mexico, and Peru. And this is very good because in my university, we have students from the other countries, from Chile, Mexico, Colombia. I myself have a student from Mexico, for example, several of them. So it is a very good idea. Perhaps in other regions, I mean, also that can be done. Give scholarship to countries around the areas to encourage more moving on, okay? Not only of the students, but also of the academia. Okay? Another thing that also I found very interesting, you know, East Asian countries, several of them, especially the bigger ones, are well advanced in education and innovation. Okay, just I want to show you this one. You know, this famous PISA taken by the Organization of Economic Development Economics, okay, the OCDE. So, you know, in this, they every year, or every 4 years, they took a test regarding reading, mathematics, and science. And we have seen that in the last year, several countries' economies in the Asia side are in the top of the position, okay? So in the Jamaican case, that is not the best positioning country, I guess, is Chile, that is in the 43rd place. So here there is an opportunity. Not only is some Asian countries are very advanced in education and technology, also in research and development, as we see, for example, in this graphic. Okay? So, for example, Japan, Korea are among the countries that invest more as the percentage of GDP in research and development. So, I think this also can be a mechanism really, for fostering more collaboration in both countries. For example, how can Latin American countries learn how some East Asian countries have done so well in education and innovation, and of course in research and development. Okay? For example, another idea that I think it would be interesting in the last Paralympic Games that have finished in Tokyo, one lady from Peru won the first gold medal in this Paralympic, and it was in Taekwondo, for example. So, for example, it is a good example. We have to promote more this kind of activities. Okay, in the economic space, we are advancing. We have to advance more, but also in these fields, also we can develop. I want just to finish saying something. Even if in the economic space we have advanced very much, I think regarding this kind of Fealac forum, it is very interesting. We're working together, government officers, we're working together, some academic researchers, and I think a good example of how East Asia has developed is to have in the possible way to incorporate the other sector, okay, the business, the private sector. So I think if we propose plans for these three parts to work together, we can do a lot of things. Okay, I think especially in several aspects, as I said, Latin American can learn more about East Asia because 70 years ago, really many East Asian countries were at least on the lower level of development than Latin American countries, that they are advancing somehow. So I think we can gain very much from both sides of the Pacific, and 4 points that I have said perhaps can be a way to begin. That will be all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Carlos Aquino. I think we are moving ahead, so we have enough time probably for discussion later. Now, let me invite Ambassador Prayono Atiyanto, Ambassador and Senior Advisor at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Indonesia. Please, Ambassador Atiyanto.
Thank you. Good morning, East Asia. Selamat pagi. Good evening, Latin America and the Caribbean. Greetings from us in Jakarta, from the Indonesian Fealac team at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia, Nidia Kartikasari, Haryadi Satya, Faras Gali, and of course myself, who participate in today's meeting. Let me first of all thank the government of the Republic of Korea and the Fealac Cyber Secretariat in making our today's meeting possible. Let me also congratulate the Fealac Cyber Secretariat for its 10-year anniversary. Thank you for your hard work and assistance during this 10-year period. And of course, Indonesia stands ready to continue and to establish a strong collaboration with Fealac Cyber Secretariat, as well as with other members of Fealac. I agree that Fealac must continue to make joint effort in finding ways and means to address common challenges. And in my view, that makes our meeting today important and relevant. As we all know, our biggest challenges today, next slide please, is the impact of the pandemic due to COVID-19. It creates a damaging impact to our social life, social and economic life. The social and economic life of our people of Fealac member countries. The situation is alarming. As you know, around or maybe now more than 220 million cases and 4 and 5 million deaths around the world. So it is clear that country cannot do alone. We cannot address the pandemic alone. International cooperation is necessary more than ever. So our proposal is Fealac can play a crucial role in areas of cooperation and collaboration through its project, particularly post-pandemic projects. And Indonesia stands ready to collaborate with Fealac Secretariat at this point. Next slide. In our view, there are 3 areas of cooperation. The first area of cooperation is pooling of resources, meaning identification of research capacities and facilities to produce vaccine for COVID-19. Second areas of cooperation, knowledge sharing on how to control the pandemic and prevent future pandemics from their socio-economic impacts. And the third areas of cooperation, experiences and lesson learned. Improve a better response to COVID-19, as well as boost the acceleration of socio-economic recovery due to COVID-19. Next. Vaccine. We all know, we all already witnessed that COVID-19 vaccine plays a vital role to break the chain of transmission and stop the pandemic, as well as promote economic recovery. In this context, Fealac projects undoubtedly could promote cooperation and collaboration to ensure COVID-19 vaccines be accessible and affordable to all people, to our people. That is why we need to promote a strong collaboration, a close cooperation among Fealac member countries. I understand members of Fealac has the ability to produce vaccine of COVID-19. Indonesia as well, we are now on the ongoing process in producing Indonesia's vaccine COVID-19. Next, please. What about connectivity? We also know that connectivity has a central role in our activities amongst the Fealac member countries. Connectivity between the 2 regions by utilizing a digital platform to exchange information on efforts to cope with COVID-19, as well as to boost a more intensified business interaction among countries of Fealac. At this point, again, Indonesia stands ready to work together, Fealac Secretariat and other Fealac member countries in order to establish a strong connectivity through a digital platform. At the moment, Indonesia is promoting a digital platform to facilitate interaction between Indonesia and Latin America businesses through Indonesia and Latin America and the Caribbean, or we call it INALAC, Business Forums Digital Platform. Next slide, please. Indonesia is also now proposing spirit, the theme, to utilize the momentum of the 10 years anniversary of Fealac Secretariat. Recover together, recover stronger. We brought this spirit to the commemoration of the Fealac Day in Indonesia. On September 8, 2021, Indonesia has held Fealac Day 2021. Through activities, a virtual discussion between the government and business sector actors to discuss logistic issues as the impact of the pandemic that has the potential to disrupt the global supply chain and economic recovery. The Fealac Day in Jakarta, in across Indonesia, because it's a virtual gathering, was attended by 240 participants from multiple backgrounds, such as students and businesses from various parts of Indonesia, in order to increase awareness of Fealac and global issues for youths. Let me conclude at this point and once again reaffirm our readiness to work closely with other members of Fealac. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Atiyanto. Your photos, your pictures on, for example, elbow bump and mascot glove are pretty much interesting. And you suggested a digital platform. I would suggest Fealac Secretariat and others to study Indonesia's example on this scope. Yeah, that will be quite helpful for others to benchmark, I would say. Okay, thank you very much. And now,
Thank you.
thank you. Now we are inviting Ambassador Jose Guillermo Sarita Paulino of Multilateral Cooperation Department of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Dominican Republic. Ambassador.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Well, good morning to the countries of the Asia region. Good evening to the countries of this side of the world here in Latin America. For me, it's a pleasure and an honor to be here discussing with you one of the most important topics right now about the new vision of the cooperation between Latin America and the Caribbean and the East Asia region in the present and post-pandemic future. It's a really important topic because the circumstances that we are having right now. My name is Jose Guillermo Sarita. I'm the head of the Multilateral Cooperation Department at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Dominican Republic. And in this presentation, we will see a brief of what is important to us about the cooperation between these two regions, why it's important, the Fealac in the cooperation world, and what we have as a challenge and what we have as opportunities to make this organization a better end to the forward days. So first, I want to start with this points. Number one, share with you a brief of the COVID-19 pandemic, some of the information that we managed here in the Dominican Republic, how the Dominican Republic has been managing the pandemic, and how this can be useful for the region and for other countries that has this kind of terrible issue that affect us. Then we have the importance of the international cooperation in the current times. On the third point, we have the Dominican Republic and the Fealac relationship. As you know, we have the coordination. So for us, it's really important to get these dialogues and to analyze what are our opportunities to be better. As a 4 point, we have the challenges of the forum. And at 5, as I said, the opportunities to the new vision of the corporation. First of all, I want to start about the COVID-19 pandemic. As our Vice Minister Hugo Rivera said before, no one of our economies were prepared for the COVID-19. So this is a hard punch to all our economies and our health systems for the people, I insist. But we had made all of these for today efforts, big efforts to make this recovery more and more sustainable. For example, the last week, the day that we sent this presentation, we have these numbers. The average of possibility rate of the infection was 5.84%, and the daily possibility rate were for 9.71%. The cases reported in the last 24 hours, last week, were 156 cases. Right now, we are working with a very low rate of occupations COVID-19 beds, 418 out of 2,604. And we're using the ventilator occupation, 80 out of 519. We have an active cases of 5,056 and recovery cases, 300,000 and more. So we have one of the less percent of lethality, 1.14%. And this is a result of a lot of effort from the government and even for the private sector, but for the corporation too. As we going to see in the presentation, the corporations plays an important role of fighting this pandemic and fighting the pandemics that we'll be seeing in the future. We have structured the fight of the pandemic in several stages. First, we got the health. The health was one of our priorities. We prioritizing the continuation of health system and the ability of health professional, technical equipment, and expendable materials. One of the President Luis Abinader priorities was to attack the health system, to enforce the health system, give all the beds, all the doctors, all the equipment that we need to respond to the pandemic. Then the protecting people, strengthening and expanding social protection, assisting in favor of resiliency, nutrition, water and sanitation, and the continuity of education. Was, as you know, the education was one of the sector most affected by the pandemic. We have to move to the virtual education. Right now, we are in the recovery process, and yesterday we opened all the schools, even into the private sector. So we moved to the economic recovery, prioritizing the minimizing job losses, protections, vulnerable population, digital payments, and reopening tourism. As you know, one of our top sectors is the tourism. Even in the region, the countries are in the region, tourism is a very important sector. And the pandemic attacks previously in this sector, but with the use of great protocols and the measures that all of our authorities made, we are having the light in the tunnel. Then we move to the other phase, macroeconomic response and collaboration, evaluation the needs of vulnerable households in real time, supporting data and research, including gender, LGBTQ community, migrants, and other groups. And for the last but not least, social cohesion and resilience, fostering social dialogue, empowering civil society, transitioning to clean and renewable energy, and mass communication. So as you can see, the COVID-19 is changing the world order and how the economies are working right now. And this is an important part because we have to take note about the future pandemics and the future crisis. One of the causes that right now we are experimenting this recovery, this economic recovery, is because we implemented a national vaccination plan called Vacúnate RD, which was composed of 3 phases. We prioritized the vulnerable population, the doctors, the elder ones, the police, and then we make other phases with the general population. Right now, we can say that we have applied around 11 million doses so far. We have around 4 million people fully vaccinated with 2 doses, and even we are applying a 3rd doses of the vaccine against COVID. We have more than 10 million Sinovac vaccines brought from China. So we have all of this system created to make a great response to the pandemic, to make a great economic recovery, and to get the people the wellness and the health that they need. So we move to the second point, the importance of the international cooperation, how the international cooperation is between all of these circumstances. As you know, the international cooperation right now is the most efficient mechanism to fight not only COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of issues that we have right now. We are talking about climate change. We are talking about poverty. We are talking about the inequality. We are talking about social distances and digital breach. A lot of issues in the international agenda are now depending on the international cooperation. In the case of the COVID, for example, we have corporations from China, from Mexico, from South Korea, from Japan, and this is the essence of the cooperation, to make these boundaries, to make these connections between countries, and in this case, connections between regions. So, how is this affecting the Dominican Republic Fealac relationship? Well, first, the regional coordination for Latin America and the Caribbean. We in the 2018, the Dominican Republic was elected coordinator for Latin America and the Caribbean for Fealac, and we are working to make this coordination as strengthened as possible to make the revitalization of the Fealac. And for the second point, we have the 9th Foreign Minister meeting. The delegation reaffirms the commitment of each of the countries to put environment issues at the center of their agendas, as well as they strengthen the institutional framework of the forum with the aim of increasing the visibility of the organization. And third, in November of 2020, during the event, we held an extraordinary high-level meeting, COVID-19. During this event, there was an exchange of COVID-19 best practices and identified effective frameworks to combat the pandemic and contribute to the sustainable economy recovery. This is an important part because one of the main pieces of the international cooperation should be the transfer of the knowledge, the transfer of experiences around these countries. And we will see in this presentation that this could be an opportunity for the Fealac to revitalize their position in the global agenda. Now we have the challenges. 3 challenges in concrete. Number 1, we identified the need to revive the forum and stay relevant in the international field. And at the beginning of this workshop, we heard about the need and the concrete progress to make more this organization, make more in the public, make more communications to publish this organization in their social media, in the internet, in the website, because it's important to position this organization around the globe using the new technologies. So we think that right now Fealac needs to revive the position, revive the image in using this kind of technology of information and communication. Number 2, we have the Fealac as a bridge between East Asia and Latin America and the Caribbean to reaffirm this objective, to confirm this important goal to create these bridges, to make this connection between the countries of the two regions. And third, new forms of integration. As our Vice Minister said in the video, we need to be creative right now. The challenges that we are facing, the issues that we are now in front of, they are very strong. They have a lot of characteristics. So we need to focus in creativity to make these new forms of integration, not only for specific cases, for the future, for example. That is the main topic of this workshop. So opportunities in this workshop that we can share with you. Two in concrete. First, a working group. We think that with the creation of a working group for the internal reflection of the Fealac will be very important, will be very useful. As we speak, we see all of these kind of recommendations, kind of suggestions that we can create this working group to see how we can position the organization and revitalize the image of the Fealac in the global agenda. And then we have to create new ways of cooperation to dynamize the cooperation within the framework of the Fealac. One of them should be the experience fund. As we talk about a fund that make us strong with the projects and all of the cooperation that the countries are serving, but we think that creating an experience fund with experience of the countries in so many areas, for example, how countries can manage this kind of pandemics or another kind of crisis or natural disasters or another important knowledge that we can transfer to another country, to another region. So we think that with the creation of this kind of cooperation, this kind of experience funds, we can strengthen the position of the Fealac, we can strengthen the boundaries and the bridges that we are constructing for over these past 10 years. So it is important to us to make this in this kind of circumstances that, as I said, the issues and the challenges that we are facing are stronger as the day comes. So we need to be creative and we need to have this very clear for the upcoming issues. So for us, it's as I said, an honor and a pleasure to have this discussion with you for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Dominican Republic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jose, Guillermo, Sarita, Paulino, especially for your suggestions. For example, experience fund. Okay, that sounds very interesting. I myself would be quite interested in analyzing the possibilities and mobilizing resources, the current resources, to back up that kind of suggestion. Thank you again. And now let me invite Director Boonyarit Vichienpuntu, Director of Latin America Division at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Thailand. Please.
Thank you.
Right.
For allowing me to, on this session for the presentation. Good evening for our colleagues in Latin America, and good morning for our dear colleagues in Asia. Not to waste the time, I would like to go straight for my presentation on Thailand's vision for implementation of Fealac projects. I think that I have to congratulate and thank you, Fealac Cyber Secretariat, for hosting this event. It's not only important for the commemoration of the 10th anniversary of the Fealac Cyber Secretariat, but also it's timelessly for all of us in Fealac, Fealac member countries, to start talking about how to make this cooperation more prospective, more prosperous, and mutually beneficial for all of us in the time of pandemic and beyond. at the outset of the pandemic, I would like, first of all, before I start, I would like to congratulate Vietnam for its contribution of 100,000 USD for the Fealac Fund. This is one of the key instruments for the moving forward the momentum of Fealac cooperation. And now, for the outline of my presentation, we will talk about Thailand's past roles and contributions in Fealac. And then we would go on to the second part of challenges in the implementation of Fealac projects. And then I would like to share the views of Thailand's how we reactivate our economy. And then we will share with you the Thailand vision for the implementation, for the cooperation of Fealac project. For Thailand, we see Fealac as the key instrument to bridge our opportunities to promote cooperation more greater with Latin American countries. We have been involving in various working projects with Fealac. We used to be the regional coordinator of East Asia along with Costa Rica. And then we also, during that time, we could manage to come up with the second Fealac Business Forum in Bangkok. And then we also organized some meetings which have come up with the guideline for Fealac working process. Last but not least, we also organize several national and regional projects that's respond to the key objective of the cooperation in the Fealac framework. Particularly, we give the training course every year for all Fealac members from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, like in terms of regional project. That's the course mainly focus on the issues that are relevant to the need of international community nowadays, namely ecotourism, green freight and logistics development, natural disasters management, and sufficiency economy. Last but not least, and I think that is more relevant and more important to the pandemic nowadays, is that we are the very first, since the very first time that we found COVID-19 as the common concern of international community, Thailand has started our webinars with internet and share that the result of the webinars on the experience to manage COVID-19 with Fealac members on the website of Fealac Cybersecretariat, which still nowadays everyone here could still make use of it. And lastly, thanks for the Fealac Cybersecretariat to bring our cooperation project with Argentina as one of the example of the good success, which is Fealac Women Entrepreneurs Network Project. Still that from 2015 to 2019, the project has managed to establish a network of women entrepreneurs to exchange information, knowledge and experience and policies and good practices of women entrepreneurship. And I think that this is one of the key roles that Fealac tried to promote even up to now in both regions. I mean, to make use of to make us see more efficiency of women in the business sector. May I now go through identifying the challenges from the Thai point of view in implementing Fealac projects. we see that after we study, and according to our experience as well, we see that there are about 3 or 4 points that we would like to mention at this meeting. First of all is the long distance and high travel costs. Secondly, is differences in focus and context of the two agencies or counterparts under common agenda. And then I think that it may be also the implementation time and overlaps of function between Fealac and other international framework. For the first challenge on travel on long distances and high travel costs, I think that nowadays we can see that crisis has already brought opportunity for us to see that the digital platform has reduced this challenge already, as we now on the virtual meeting and sharing our good comments and experiences how to develop more cooperation in this in Fealac. So I would like for Thailand, we would like us to stay focused on developing more digital platform for all of us to make use of Fealac cooperation more efficiently. And I have to thank Fealac Cyber Secretariat not to stop developing on this term. And secondly, I would like to address the second challenge in differences in context and focus of projects between two counterparts in the two regions. For example, in bringing entrepreneurs from the two regions together, both counterparts should start from brainstorming their shared interests in sectors and have the one agreed objective, so that when we come into implementation, it could be more flowing in terms of action. And lastly, I would like to touch upon a little bit on what we call the willpower of teamwork. We would like us, our member countries, to ensure that the project could be implemented and complete within a practical time frame. In this regard, we have to go back to my third comments on the challenges of the brainstorming things. We, as Thailand, we would like to see that all of us join hand in hands in a new momentum in Fealac and utilize it and beneficial framework that and utilize it in the appropriate time so that we could not stay too long in one project. That is our challenge. That is the comments for the 4 challenges I addressed recently. And now I would like to share the view with some of our speakers that Fealac should to address the new normal and also for the post-COVID-19 era. We should touch upon the environment issues more seriously. And for Thailand, we started already. We already, for Thailand, we have bring in the idea of the BCG economy model, but what we call bio-circular green economy as our national economic model for all for all the entrepreneurs in Thailand, industries in Thailand, to gear up and with focus on eco-friendly industrialization with a balanced, sustainable, and inclusive approach on development that focuses on harmony between human and nature. What we are talking now is not just to touch upon the literary on the environment, but we really serious in practice. And we know that as environmental issues needs to have cooperation with the international community, we see ample opportunities in collaborating with our Latin American countries, friends, in areas of mutual interest in BCG, such as food and agriculture, medical services and wellness, bioenergy, and also the tourism and creative economy, which I would like to focus on this more seriously, because Thailand share the common interest with nearly all of us in this framework of cooperation on to have national revenue from tourism industry. We would like, we right now start to talking about the concept of regenerative tourism, which build on the concept of sustainable tourism that emphasizes the preservation of balance of nature and resources so that they will be available for next generations. For what we call regenerative tourism, we go beyond the current generation of tourist industry that we try to make it inclusive for tourism-based community. But we would like to ensure that the tourist destination will be preserved for our next generation, with the concept and idea of to balance the tourist dispersal, to re-examine the domestic market, to rebrand Thailand as the sustainable brand, and to reconnect our tourism industry with other sectors and innovation related to natural preservation. And also, besides the regenerative tourism, we also start our serious collaboration with the Latin American countries by having the meeting with our Ministry of Foreign Affairs has started the meeting seriously to reconnect the economies with Latin America through the meeting with the embassies of Latin America, 9 embassies of Latin American countries in Thailand. What we have is that we see the important three points that we should give importance to make sure that that we could reach out, we could manage to have the successful supply chain between the two regions, which are potential the discuss on common potential products that both sides could work together, procedures to reduce measures and regulation in conducting business, and to identify partners that reliable to do the business between the two countries. And after the discussion, we also see that we should also see the potential of to assess the sector with strong business potential one by one that related to the current global context. And lastly, I would like to, in conclusion of my presentation, I would like to say that first of all, we should to make sure that the Fealac project still relevant and useful and beneficial to all of us here. We should think about going through the low-hanging project first, and by using the format of by using the facility of digital platform we have. For example, I support the idea of our dear colleagues before about the linkages of the academicians by again and again. For example, restart again the Fealac University network to develop networks among our student, professor, and researchers, especially in the common concern right now, for example, COVID-19 in particular. And also, I would like to bring attention to all of us that Thailand is still seriously pushing forward the original project by ourselves through giving the AIT the project for training courses, as you see in the screen. We can circulate the details later on through Fealac Cybersecretariat. And lastly, I would like to make sure that I would like to once again saying that Thailand would like to have the cooperation with the Fealac to work together with us on BCG economy model. And lastly, this is on my personal view. I think that one of the issues that we haven't mentioned yet is that right now the opportunity of COVID-19 that bring us together here through the virtual meeting also stressed the importance of the people-oriented of doing people-oriented projects under the Fealac framework. And with this, as the world is closer through high technology of communication, we can think about make use of creative economies like our artists to make sure that all of us are part of the one world, and then we will have the support from our peoples to move forward the project of Fealac as well. So let me conclude my presentation by saying that COVID-19 is not the obstacle of our cooperation, but rather the opportunities for us to be closer and to be together for this better world, especially in the framework of closer relations between Fealac countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boonyarit Vichienpuntu. I really like your last comments. And let me take the liberty to make some comments on your points in your presentation. Especially you correctly point out what you said, the challenge of architectural overlaps from the Fealac process. Everybody knows that exclusive construction in international efforts to evade overlaps is very difficult. I think you also hope that our efforts in the Fealac process will lead ultimately to the same goal of cooperation and international peace. As a professor of international trade, that reminds me of the kind of a challenge and dilemma of RTA, regional trade arrangements, versus multilateralism. We discussed a lot about that kind of overlap or dilemma, but we came to kind of a conclusion that we say the spaghetti bowl approach, right? Or multi-layer approach. Through the accumulation of RTAs, we finally can come to the idea of multilateralism. Anyway, I really like your presentation, and I hope for future discussion on those topics. Okay, as I announced, we have discussion session now. First of all, we will invite Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs from Argentina, and then Deputy Director of Latin America and Caribbean from Singapore. And let us add finally one more commentator, the Division Director of Chain Tech, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Republic of Korea. Okay, then now, Ministra Maria Alejandra Black, por favor.
Buenas noches, good evening. I am representing the Asia and Oceania Division in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and it's the first time I am in this Fealac organization, so it's really a great pleasure for me. And I would like to say a few words and to highlight that Argentina has been a Fealac member since the beginning of the organization and has always had a very high profile, being coordinator in 2 occasions in 2009 and 2011, organizing a ministerial meeting in 2011, and 2 high official meetings. We have bilateral relations for over 100 years with many of the Fealac country members in the Asia-Pacific region, and including with some of them strategic partnerships. However, Fealac is the only multilateral dialogue forum with Asia that we are taking part, giving it, an important role in our relationship with the Asia-Pacific region. Therefore, Fealac represents the spirit of dialogue and cooperation between 2 distant regions. At the ministerial level, we have participated in 5 occasions, showing our commitment with the organization as well as in a number of projects in different fields. For instance, I can mention the E-FITO certification project that we have been working with Australia, and that will certainly help a group of countries in the Asia-Pacific region as well as in Latin America to improve the electronic certification and trade facilitation, especially towards a post-pandemic world economy. I can mention that I know this project from both sides because I have been posted until recently times in Australia. So I really had the pleasure to see, how it works and how, 2 regions can, work together and bring knowledge and modernization to very distant places in the world. And today, finally, we would like to congratulate the Fealac Cyber Secretariat for its 10th anniversary of an active and fundamental role in this organization. This meeting we are having tonight is an opportunity to reflect about the future path of this relevant organ and what we want to achieve in the years to come. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, Ministra. Now, let me invite Ms. Nitya Menon, Deputy Director of Latin American and Caribbean from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Singapore. Ms.
Thank you
Menong?
so much.
Okay.
Yes, hello. Good morning to everyone in Korea and good evening to our colleagues in Latin America. I thank the Fealac Cyber Secretariat for hosting and planning this workshop. From Singapore, we acknowledge the achievements of the Secretariat in its decade-long history and congratulate it on its 10th anniversary. And it's a pleasure for me to speak briefly here along with my colleague Alejandra to kick off the discussion portion of today's workshop. As everyone here already knows, Fealac was first mooted or proposed by Singapore's then Prime Minister, our second Prime Minister, Goh Chok Tong, in 1998 as an institutionalized forum for dialogue between East Asia and Latin America. The foundational concept was to bridge the missing link between our two dynamic but geographically distant regions. So the inaugural Fealac senior officials meeting was held in Singapore in 1999. And in the last 2 decades, the membership of the forum has grown from 27 to 36 members. We are pleased that Fealac has evolved to become a broad platform for political and business leaders to exchange views and address common challenges. It has also become an important forum to explore avenues for the expansion of region-to-region cooperation. We are very heartened to see the increase in the number of national and regional projects over the last 2 decades, including those that promote the exchange of best practices in areas like healthcare and legal reform. It is the diversity and the inclusivity of these projects which to us makes Fealac very unique. The establishment of the Fealac Trust Fund in 2017 also has facilitated these Fealac-wide projects. On our part, for Singapore, we have organized the Fealac Journalists Visits Program, or the JVP, for the last 20 years. It is our flagship and most successful initiative, if I could say that, to promote interregional understanding and cultural awareness between Asia and Latin America. Since its beginning, the Fealac JVP has hosted 120 journalists from 17 different countries. And while it has, of course, been difficult to host these JVPs during COVID, once they resume, we hope and welcome any interested Asian partners to invite the journalists to follow on from Singapore to another Asian country to give them a broader perspective of the region. We also invite our Latin American partners to similarly invite journalists from East Asia on a reciprocal JVP so that we can make the JVP a bi-regional project. Finally, I must say I'm very heartened to see Fealac continuing to engage virtually during the pandemic. There are many challenges in doing so, not least because of the time differences, but at a time when multilateralism remains under threat, a continued threat, our continued interactions at Fealac, whether virtual or in person, are really very opportune and timely moments for our two regions to reaffirm our commitment to open dialogue and interregional cooperation and understanding. It also provides us with a better knowledge of each other's regions and positions and thoughts on the salient topics of the day. In this vein, looking back at last year, the extraordinary senior officials meeting in 2020 was also a useful opportunity to share our respective experiences in combating COVID-19. And Singapore is very happy to participate in that then, just as we are happy to participate today in this very timely workshop too on important issues. So on that note, I'll just end here and look forward to a very fruitful panel discussion.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nithya Menong, for your valuable comments. And before I invite Mr. Chaintek, let me remind you, you can freely upload your questions in the chatting window, or if you wish to speak, please click the raise hand button in the Zoom system so that I can invite you to speak. Okay, now let me invite Division Director of Chaintek for his comments. Chae.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Kim. I think in this workshop today, we shared various suggestions and opinions for the future development of Fealac. I think we all the suggestions can be divided into two categories. First one is strengthening the Fealac mechanism. Fealac has a little bit loose mechanism, so for the continuity of the cooperation, member countries continue to think about how to strengthen the Fealac mechanism. Korean government also tried to strengthen the Fealac mechanism by hosting cyber secretariat and also initiating Fealac fund in 2017. And today also we have a very constructive suggestions on the strengthening Fealac mechanism, including the establishing working group for internal reflection of a Fealac mechanism. Also, we have a suggestion of utilizing more digital platform. And as a representative of Korean government, we already proposed, Cyber Secretariat already proposed the future strategy named by 4P strategy for the Cyber Secretariat. And also we hope to the operationalization of a Fealac fund for the Fealac-wide project. We can help to strengthen Fealac mechanism. I think the second point of the suggestion is regarding the areas of cooperation for the Fealac. Professor Riteok suggested focusing on climate change issue through the case of the APEC. And Director Carlos Aquino from Peru suggested the focusing on the academic exchange. And many participants agreed on the focusing on the COVID-19 response and vaccination. And from the viewpoint of the Korean government, I will just introduce the Korean policy toward the Latin American region. For the recovery from the COVID-19 situation, last year, Korean government announced the Korean New Deal, focusing on the Green New Deal and the Digital New Deal. In this sense, the diplomatic policy toward the Latin American region is now focusing on the establishing together green economy and also digital economy. Against this backdrop, we can suggest the further areas of cooperation focusing on the climate change and green economy. Also, we can focus on the how to achieve the green digital economy through innovation. And in conclusion, to finalize my comments, I want to say thank you again for all the participants, especially the Minister Maria Alejandra from Argentina. And thank you again for all the participants of this workshop. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Choi. I have found one question in the chatting window. I don't think we can come to a conclusion in answering this question, but I hope the participant from Laos may respond to this question. Yeah, if you do not see the chatting window, let me read briefly. This message comes from Tiang Song Gong. The message reads like this: I would like to request confirmation from all Fealac members on the suggestion from Laos. Do we all agree with Laos to organize Fealac Som in the end of this year. In case we all agree on the proposal, what should we prepare for the Seoul meeting, and what would you expect the result of discussion from this meeting? And how is it possible to discuss the pending issues such as seeking the next regional coordinator, voluntary rotation system, and so on, as the online platform is quite hard to discuss deeply? Okay, that is the question. I myself think the final decision should be done by the diplomatic process, but briefly, if you wish, the representative for Laos may wish to respond to this question. Can it be possible? The Laos representative, Ms. Dalylack Keobanhdith.
Dalylack Keobanhdith.
Okay, please.
Thank you for the question. As I mentioned in my presentation, currently we are in the process of the preparing of organizing song, but however, we still are preparing how to proceed the meeting and which agenda we should put on the table. We will consult with the Cyber Secretariat and the Dominican Republic first, but the main agenda that we want to raise, there will be two topics. One is the selection of the next coordinator for region. However, maybe we will prepare the concept note, how to determine the next coordinator. But however, for the detail, we will consult with Cyber Secretariat and other coordinator. Yes, I think maybe my comment is not clear right now because we are in the process to prepare internal procedure. But of course, if we have the detail, we will inform you through the diplomatic channel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Keobanhdith. Yeah, I think all the participating governments will go on to discuss this matter through the diplomatic channel and come to a certain conclusion. I have not found any further question, neither raise hand signals in this Zoom channel. Okay, then let me round up. As everybody knows, today we had a lot of ideas and suggestions, analysis. As Mr. Choi In-tak already summarized, everybody will know ideas is not the conclusion, right? We are fearful of a lot of ideas and no action. But at the same time, I believe the Fealac process, even though it has been a slow process, we have moved forward all the time, little by little. So again, I hope today's workshop come to a contribution for the future development of a Fealac process. Again, I really appreciate the insightful presentation from all the participants. Let me take the privilege of saying a little bit about my own observation. Actually, I have been involved and present through all the process of Fealac from 1998. And my general feeling is we all know the ultimate goal, and we exchange, and we are quite anxious of the exchange of the different programs in different countries. Let me share on the chatting window my own email address so that you can contact me in case that you wish to discuss or brainstorm along with me about all these efforts. Yeah, we will then can contribute further on this process. Anyway, again, thank you very much for your presentation and for your participation. We hope that this workshop has been fruitful to all participants of today's workshop. See you again, maybe soon, and keep safe. Goodbye. Muchas gracias. Adiós. Hasta luego. Okay.